Welcome back to Talk Nerdy to Me. I'm Michelle Delker, founder and CEO of the William Stanley CFO Group. And today we're kicking off season 2. And I have my dear friend with me, Aakash Patel from Elevate Inc.
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. So Aakash is a man about town and you should know him. But if you don't, we'll give you a quick overview. I'm going to let you introduce yourself because when I do someone's bio, it sounds like I'm a stalker.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to kick off season 2. It's great to see you and it's great to be here. I've heard so many great things about the podcast. It's an honor to be here on season 2, episode 1. Aakash Patel, like you said, I am from the Tampa area. Went to high school here and then Florida State for college. So go Seminoles out there, listeners.
Wait, though, aren't you originally from New Jersey?
I grew up in New Jersey, then went to high school here.
Roll it back and be honest with the people about New Jersey. My family's from New Jersey, too, originally.
That's true. Yeah, I grew up in the South Jersey area, and then my parents divorced and I relocated to Tampa.
Okay.
So I went to Sickles High School in North Tampa.
Yes.
And then Florida State for college. And then I did a semester in D.C.,
okay.
and a semester in London.
Wow.
And then moved here from London in 2006.
So well-traveled.
Yeah, and so I've been here since 2006, so I feel like I've been here longer than Jersey. But yes, Tampa is home now, and I live in South Tampa, and I started Elevate in 2012.
Okay, so 2012, it's 2025.
Yeah.
Quick math, public math, that's 13 years. And look at his baby face. Look into that camera. Just a baby face. So you started the business very early in your career, but you had some incredible experience leading up to launching the business.
Yeah, I got great experience and great mentors. So I graduated with a degree in political science and English literature, and I was fortunate to work in my dream job, what I call it. I was a part-time office manager for the Tampa Bay Times Tallahassee office. Mm-hmm. So I was able to write some stories by the time I was 19 that made the front cover. So this was a big deal for me because it was a dream to be a journalist. And then I went into the marketing side, the PR side. And that's when I came to Tampa in 2006 and worked for a PR firm and really enjoyed the field, but didn't enjoy the agency kind of life. Mm-hmm. So a client of mine asked me to come work with him and I went in-house. And that was like an amazing experience. The only dilemma was this was 2008 when the real estate recession had hit.
Something happened in 2008?
Yes. And marketing is always the first thing to let go.
Of course, yes.
So then I have a choice, right? You have a choice that you can move, you can change careers. I really just talked to a lot of people. I had coffees. I read a book called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And the concept was just that, always be asking people for guidance and advice. And so a lot of my friends and mentors were like, hey, you've got a knack for this kind of networking, connecting. And so I tried a couple other opportunities, and a buddy of mine that had a tech startup, his name was Sid Packetapatty. I worked with him and sold the company I was working with. He just said, you can do this. You start your own. So it kind of gave me the push. And so I got the concept idea in November of 2011. And then I took a few months to get everything together to get the website up, the logo, the color scheme, the vision, the mission. And I launched publicly February 1, 2012.
Insane. And talking about getting the branding and the look, all of the aesthetics correct. When he pulled up today, his shirt matched his car. He takes it very seriously.
That's right. And always wear the logo. You always never know who you're going to start a conversation with.
I think it's what you were made to do. I think we met maybe back in 21 or 22 at a Vistage breakfast, yes. Yeah. And you walked up to me like you knew me. I was like, who is this guy? But just gregarious and outgoing and excited to share your experience and what you had seen that had worked so well through Vistage. And it was a great introduction to you, really representative of who you are. So you got a lot of phenomenal experience early in your career. You worked the long hours, you were in the grind, you did the things. The market shifted and you found yourself in a position where there was an opportunity. And you said, I'm going to go for it, right? I'm going to go for it and see what we can do. And the company was born. What is the crux of what the company does?
So one thing we always learn about people that are busy is they're always looking to use time effectively. So our model is when you go to a networking event, just anyone goes to a networking event, sometimes this could happen to anyone. They meet people that aren't in their space, aren't the decision makers, or aren't worth their valuable time because everyone's time is valuable. So the crux of what we do, to answer your question, is we're using the CEO's time effectively by basically being outsourced business development and outsourced strategy.
So that's fantastic. So your sweet spot for businesses, small businesses between 1 million, 10 million? Who are your ideal clients?
Yeah, so when I started, it used to be relocated corporations and entrepreneurs starting businesses less than $2 million in revenue, less than 20 employees.
Okay.
But it's kind of morphed since the pandemic. And the reason why I say that is because a lot of folks in whatever profession have let go of business development / marketing folks and hired consultants. And so I have a client that is, they have 7,000 employees, right? And I just work directly for the CEO because we're doing the same thing for one individual. We have a client that was $26 billion in revenue. It was a pharmaceutical company called Amgen, right? They're in Thousand Oaks, California, but when they entered the Florida market, they needed some help connecting. So we target the same kind of networks today, but we've kind of gotten into the public elected official space as well as the not-for-profit space. And that was more since the shift of 2021.
So I think that's fantastic. In my mind, being a bit Southern, it's almost like a cotillion, right?
Yeah.
When you're coming up and you're new, it's really that big party to let people know that you're here, to introduce you to the right people that are like-minded, and to facilitate those relationships and that ecosystem.
You love that word, as you know. And when I tell people, they're like, what makes you special? I'm like, listen, anyone can do what we do. We just help you get there faster. Mm-hmm. So what we've kind of come down to a 6-month model. What we do for clients in 6 months, it'll take them 2 years. They can do it on their own. They can meet people, they can have coffees, they can build a network, they can sponsor events, which is all great, but it's a time versus money conversation.
Respectfully, I have to say I disagree, right? Because I've seen that you have been appointed to a couple of different boards. And not anyone can do that. It really is about being in the right rooms, meeting the right people, having the right conversations to position you to be in that spot. You can definitely establish a presence in an area, but if it's not with the right group of people, if it's not with that target audience, it's all for naught. So I think one of the things that you do, and you do very well, is a really thorough intake process, right? You really get to know the organization with whom you're working. You understand what their goals are, what their culture is, and then you retrofit a plan just for them. It's not a copy paste. It's not a one size fits all. This is what makes sense for this particular type of organization, for where they are today and where they want to be.
Yeah, it's about a 13-week process from when we meet them to when they actually hire us. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it takes a lot of patience too. When you apply for a political board or any other board, people have to review it. People have to interview you. People have to, get the references correct. So we tell people this is why we have to do at least a minimum of 6 months. You got to play the waiting game.
Yes, otherwise it's a bit whiplashy, right? A start-stop. And while you have a 6-month program built out, that's not typically how long folks stay with you. You've got some folks that have been with you for many years.
Yeah, our longest term client is BDO, an accounting firm, probably the top 8 in the nation.
Yes,
you know accounting a little bit.
Of course.
When they entered the Florida market, their managing partner was connected to me and said, hey, I need to expand this office. At that time, he had 2 employees. Now he has 100 here in Tampa Bay. And he's been with us, BDO has been with us in the Southeast for 9 years.
Mm-hmm. Yes, love BDO. They really have a great product and a wonderful team, phenomenal presence here in Tampa. So you said things shifted a bit during the pandemic, that additional opportunities came up that you then decided to delve into. Tell me more about that, because I think for some people it would be surprising to hear, like, we have quite a bit of expertise in this particular market or that particular market. I think there's some like governmental, maybe not for profit.
Yeah, so it's about connecting and making sure people respond. So in a general year, people are busy. You travel, you take vacation. You might have speaking engagements that aren't going to let you respond to emails right away. The pandemic hits, and all these networking events that we're supporting and we're taking our clients to, they go to virtual.
Yes.
So what happens there is now people are available to go to virtual events, which is great. But then the actual positions of the people that are throwing the events, people that are raising money for these not-for-profits, they go away. Yeah. But they still have a budget for them, right? So as far as what we did, as we shifted and pivoted, if you will, we're going to still connect people over email introductions, right? So you can always do phone calls or Zooms, but you could do that before, but now people were responding to email introductions. And so we went to nonprofits and we said, we understand that you used to have a gala that raised you $1 million. We can't raise you $1 million, but we can connect you to 5 different people that still need to give away money, and they don't need to go to a gala because we know you're not going to have it. And we'll just do an email introduction. You guys can do a Zoom. And nonprofits loved it. So we picked up some nonprofits like Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brothers Big Sisters, Lutheran Services of Florida, the Tampa Museum of Art, Shriners Hospital internationally, nonprofits that I wouldn't expect, except the pandemic allowed us the opportunity to go after them.
It's interesting because it seems like there were a lot of birds that fell out of the sky during that storm. I mean, it was what was it, like a rip in the space-time continuum, a huge juxtaposition. I think that helped a lot of us reimagine business. And you mentioned that folks will leverage you almost like an outsourced business development person.
Yep.
We're seeing a lot of that, right? Because to have that position full-time, like all in, comp, Benny, employer burden, could be very expensive, but to be able to take pieces of it and get the absolute best, the highest level of strategy without a lot of the rhetoric, we're seeing a lot of businesses shift to that, not just in your discipline, but in others as well. So it sounds like you really seized that opportunity in conjunction with other markets opening up.
And not to mention affordability. I mean, the housing market, is expensive. It's hard to, buy a house.
Stop it. Stop it right now. It's ridiculous. Yes.
So people could really afford to live on the salary they were paying before the pandemic. And so the elected officials too. So if you think about our clerk of the courts or our tax collector, or our property appraiser, or even our housing authorities, right? They have a mission to go to the business community and get the word out to either raise funds or just make sure businesses can partner with what they're doing for the public, right? They're using our tax dollars. So we went to those elected officials and public agencies and said, hey, we're throwing these speaking engagements. Would you like to be the keynote speaker? And they took us up on it. And of course, we get to work with them. And so what we're doing is we're creating opportunities and outlets for folks to network, right? Because that's the whole part of networking is connecting. And then we're growing their brand by them being on social media presence. And they know how to do it, and they have internal folks that do it, but they need other eyeballs to look at them. And so that's what we're enhancing.
Mm-hmm. And so what does the typical engagement look like from someone reaching out to you? You said it's kind of a long sales cycle, getting to know each other. It's almost like dating in the Bridgerton days, right? You're courting. There's a parlor full of gentlemen that came calling. What does it look like from beginning through completion of an engagement?
So we do a 6-month engagement. It's every month we commit to a strategy session. We call that, a company's called Cultivating. So we do an altitude analysis. So you see where you're going to be.
An altitude analysis. Stop it. Yes.
And then we also provide you a social concierge. So when I look at what we do, we provide really hands-on service. And when you stay at a nice hotel, I know you and your husband probably stayed at a nice hotel, and you want to go to dinner in that town, you go to the concierge. The concierge tells us where to go to dinner, what server to ask for, what dish to order, right? They kind of know the spots, the times that you should go, or maybe how to get the reservation. We assign a client a social concierge, right? And we meet with them once a month for our strategy session. And when we commit to them that we will take them 22 events, to show them the 22 events a month.
22 a month? That's a lot of leg shaving for the ladies. A lot of pantyhose.
Well, we go over, we say you don't have to go to everything. You can send your team members, you can send your colleagues, you can split it up, you can bring your spouse, you can send your spouse, whatever. But we also commit to doing email introductions. So out of the whole month, you're going to meet 60 people. You get to choose if it's in person, over email, or at an event. It's your choice. And so generally clients will say, okay, I'll go to 2 a week, and then I'll send a couple people here and there. But we track everything, and then it's rinse and repeat, right? And then maybe after the second or third month, they say, you know what, I really want an event around my industry.
I was just going to say, how do you curate, right? Because 22, it makes me palpitate. Honestly, I get really nervous. It's like 22, is it 22 of the right? Is it 22 of the wrong? What does that mix look like? So do you start with sort of a standard blocking and tackling, something that is more mid-level, where there's a good diverse mix?
Yeah, and we know we can predict the audience too. So for instance, if it's a breakfast at one of the private clubs, we'll know the attendee list ahead of time. So we'll tell the client, okay, this is what we asked you to sign up for. Come at 8 o'clock in the morning, meet 5 people, and then you can leave by 9. And once you meet those 5 people, we'll set up the lunches and coffees and dinners, whatever it is.
You do?
We will, yeah. We'll take the next job because the concierge model means that we're going to handhold you and make you accountable. Now, the difference is the availability. We're not going to predict the other person's availability or our availability. We're just going to put them together and say, okay, this is the week you guys should meet. You guys figure out the date and time and let us know. We'll be there.
Now, do you do any coaching? Like, is there a debrief post-meeting if a meeting went well or if it didn't go as well as we had hoped?
Yeah. So we have USF College of Nursing, USF Pharmacy. We have a lot of those, and we have a lot of debriefs with our deans that we work with because they aren't sure what to ask for.
Yes.
And they aren't sure if they did it the right way. And so what we ask is feedback on both sides. And we kind of say, you guys did a great job. Or you guys should have asked this way or that way. We had this last week where we know we had our College of Nursing ask for one of the construction companies for some support. And they weren't sure which one to give to. And I said, well, this is the one we're going to get asked for.
It's interesting. There's got to be a really big psychological component to it, right? Because in general, and I don't think this is an issue that you face, but a lot of people are scared to move forward with things because they don't want to be rejected. I had a friend that I worked with for years. I'd been really busy. I asked her to lunch. And as we were leaving to go to lunch, she said, "I'm so glad you asked. I've been waiting for months." And I said, "Why didn't you ask me?" And she's like, "What if you said no?" I was like, "Would the world end?" Right? But we see a lot of people who are scared of rejection, and they have to be coached through conversations with different partners. Do you experience that as well?
Oh, absolutely. And so our model is, if you don't ask, you don't get. And so we actually tell our team members that are meeting at other events and prospects, you can tell them the price. We're $5,000 a month no matter who you are. You can tell them the length of the engagement. It's always 6 months. And you can tell them our model, which is 22 events and 60 introductions. You can say that at a networking event if you want to, because it's not going to change. We're a one-size model. And so what I tell people, because clients always come to us, of course, they write us the $5,000 check for that month, and they say, "Okay, I expect returns." I'm like, "You can expect returns if you go and ask for returns. But they're not going to show up in your lap. Just because you meet someone at a coffee doesn't mean they're going to give you the business right away. You got to build that rapport, but you can also ask for it."
I really love that. When we spoke, you said, "I know we have exponential returns, but honestly, our clients are tracking that and we liaise with them to talk through it." It's interesting because you're saying, we'll bring you to the water, but you have to open your mouth and drink, right? There's only so much that we can do, and then you have to step in and take over. We'll set the table, but you have to eat the food.
Exactly. And we have clients that, we had a trucking client that wanted to get in with our client, City Furniture, and they wanted to do the logistics. And I said, "Okay, I'll put you two together. But, there's other people that make those decisions. You got to follow through and follow up. We can make the meeting. We're the opener and you're the closer."
I think that's fantastic because you're being direct. This isn't a magic pill, right? I'll help you, but you have to take the action. And then providing that support behind the scenes to help coach and develop them. Because I think if someone has that, if they have those monthly sessions, if they have that concierge, if they're out on the circuit, it starts to change you. You do become a little bit more confident, a little bit more emboldened, and then you begin to chart your own path.
Yeah. And I definitely think, and it goes back to the same conversation is where do you want to spend your time? Do you want to spend it with a bunch of people that aren't going to be able to hire you or coach you or make you better? Or do you want to spend time with a bunch of CEOs or C-suite leaders that if they can't hire you today, they're going to refer you tomorrow?
They're going to remember you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, I think that's great. So you've been doing this for a long time. You've touched a lot of different clients and you've seen a lot of success. Tell us about one of your greatest successes with a client.
Well, there's a couple that come to mind, but one of the ones I would say is which we love is we helped, like I mentioned, the USF College of Nursing. They had a bus, it's like a Sprinter van. It's called the mobile bus. It's a play on USF Bulls, and they
Stop it.
Yeah, it's the mobile because it's mobile, right?
That's adorable. Okay.
And they want to go into. They still have it today. The Dean Usha Menon has done a great job of marketing it. They go into the underserved community and they offer, some testing or whatever they can do to get their students real life experience in these areas. But the bus sometimes breaks down, right? The cars sometimes have trouble. This is a very specialized Sprinter van, so it needs some technical support, and it can't be just a regular part. You have to build it out, have to charge it, whatever it is. So they came to us and said, "Hey, can you help us find a partner in the community that could help underwrite this?" I said, "Actually, I know a couple construction firms. I can put you guys in touch, and you guys can set up meetings." Well, it turns out they went to a construction firm, and that firm donated in-kind parking spot, which is a build-out, safely charging and all that. And that was a tune of in-kind of $90,000.
Amazing.
So that's a direct save from us. And again, they're paying us, $60,000 for the year, right? And they're getting $90,000. That's just on one introduction. So
yes.
that's the best. So I think that's one of the success stories because they would have not met that company if we didn't suggest it.
Right. No, absolutely. And it's tangible and, irrefutable, as it were. And it's one of many. You were working with another organization, also a very big organization. I think you've been with them 4 or 5 years. Hospital, not-for-profit, something. And they came back to you recently and said it was millions of dollars.
Mm-hmm. It was, Shriners Hospital internationally, right? So one of the local community leaders, a friend of mine, owns several franchise Dunkin' Donuts. And,
America runs on Dunkin'.
It does. And so what the international headquarters for Shriners is here. Mm-hmm. Dunkin' Donuts is international, as we know. But the franchises independently can choose nonprofits during the certain week as long as it kind of encompasses their mission. Mm-hmm. So I just knew one person at the Dunkin' Donuts organization and kind of partnered, made an introduction to our development folks at Shriners, which is our job. And now 245 locations for 1 week in June every year are going to support Shriners, that's money that was not, they didn't know it existed, right? Because it's just a fraction of it. But for them, it's a lot because you add it up 245 times. So every year now a check gets presented for the tune of, whatever it is. You don't know, you can't predict the number, but it's always over around 30 to 40, 50 grand.
It's amazing, that level of exposure, which then helps them perpetuate their mission and expand beyond maybe what they had originally anticipated.
Yeah, and the partnership has to work for both sides, but they love it because other things can come from it. And then the other conversation is, even if let's say this client says, hey, we're done with Elevate after 3 years, which is fair. It's a consistent revenue without us. And that's our goal, is to work with the partner where they can work even without us.
And they can always come back too.
And we have a lot of clients that come back. We've got several nonprofits that take 6 months on, 6 months off.
Yes. So I think that's important too, is that the relationship is always warm, whether it's paid continuously or not. You're in touch. That relationship is always ready to resume that next engagement.
Yeah, and we're always paying it forward too, because we are fortunate enough to book speaking engagements at 4 different locations. So I've got nonprofits that can't afford us right now, but I'm like, all right, I'll book you. And then when you're ready, you just come back to us.
So that is the best part, honestly, for me, of owning a business, is having the autonomy to really invest in things that you believe in, whether the money is there or not. Right. It's just amazing.
Well, it's like, where do you want to spend your time? So the 2 boards that I am on, politically appointed, they're both in education. I want to support education.
And what boards are those?
So I'm the chair of the Early Learning Coalition. So the VPK program. Yeah. So I chair the Early Learning Coalition of Hillsborough County, and I've chaired that for 11 years. And have a great experience because I've gotten to take it from basically a hidden nonprofit to a real formidable nonprofit with a strong board and a strong CEO. We've moved locations. We've hired and fired CEOs. We've had board retreats. We are legislatively funded. So it's really cool to be legislatively funded because you can go to the legislature and ask for funds, and then they actually see the dollars return. And most parents who have kids in VPK, they love the program.
Yes.
It's actually very competitive. It's always a moving target of how many slots we get. And then the other board is I'm on the board of Hillsborough Community College. I'm one of 5 trustees. We have 5 campuses throughout Hillsborough County, and we have about 42,000 students.
I love it. I actually went to HCC.
Oh, right. Yes. We got to get you plugged in.
My first 2 years after high school, Leto High School here in Tampa. Education, especially when you've been in the community for a period of time, really speaks to so many different folks. People with children, without children, having that education in our community is so critically important.
I did summer school 1 year at Leto. I went to Sickles, but yeah, we did summer school, driving driver's ed actually, yeah. But HCC was, you think about 95% of our graduates stay in Hillsborough County. And they're working in our fields that we all hire. They're going to go to UF or FSU or even USF or UT, yes. And they're going to you're going to stay in this area. You're going to stay in this region, yes. And that's what I tell people is giving back locally is most important.
It really is. It's incredible, and it's just so enriching to be able to look around and see the benefit of those investments. So I absolutely love it. And while we're on the topic of accolades and recognition, are you a finalist for something?
I finalist for the South Tampa Chamber Small Business of the Year Awards, yes.
Stop it.
This is our 5th time. As you can imagine, I think the Susan Lucci of the South Tampa Chamber Finalist Awards, but hopefully this is our year. But, even though we haven't won every time, or it's just an honor to be nominated. I saw you win the SBOY for the Tampa Bay Chamber last year. It was amazing. You crushed it. I was a judge. And you did a great job, and you earned the award. And that a lot of people don't win on the first, second, or third try.
It's interesting. It is an honor to be recognized just in general. But for me, I think the coolest thing is the self-discovery that occurs throughout the process. Because you can sometimes, when you own a business, especially when you're the founder and it's who gonna check me, boo, right? You can become a little one-dimensional, and having those external perspectives and that feedback for me was incredibly helpful in shifting our value proposition, and actually led to an acquisition that we did earlier this year. So super cool, and best wishes, very well deserved. The award ceremony is coming up later this month in June, right?
Yes, middle of June. So I'm excited. I got my team there. We got it's already sold out, which is a good sign. And there's 31 other finalists, and they're all great companies. A lot of our former clients and friends, and so I'm excited.
It's amazing. It's almost like a family reunion.
Yeah, of your coolest friends.
Yes,
right?
yes. So speaking of Tampa, we are a mecca for small businesses. We have small businesses for this, for that, for everything in between. And there are other businesses that do something similar to what you do. There are other businesses that do something similar to what I do. Yeah. We were talking before the show, and I was saying, for me, the crux of this is really meant to demonstrate to our audience, all 13 Spotify subscribers, thank you so much.
Well, 14 after today, right? Of course.
14 after today, yay. To really demonstrate what the gold standard is for that particular partner. So coming up, I had an opportunity to work for some really big Fortune 500 companies where we had an incredible standard of excellence for our partner relationships. But moving into the startup and scale-up world, sometimes I found that our CEOs and founders weren't being served with the same level of excellence, right? So really wanted to have you on to show, hey guys, this is what we should be looking for. This is the gold standard when you're looking for a partner like this. Could you maybe help us talk about some red flags to watch out for if someone is working with another organization and maybe they're just feeling like things aren't right or they're not getting what they should? If someone is engaging a relationship with a firm like yours, what should they be getting and where should they start to get a little uncomfortable?
I think for us, it's communication is key, right? It's like any relationship or any business partnership or any marriage or any kind of thing like that. It's upfront expectation. So the number one question is why, right? So our model at Elevate is we have one on our business cards and our logos. It's learn, connect, and grow. So first you got to learn what's going on, then you connect with others, and then you grow your brand, right? But the other model is be bold, be brave, and be you. So I created a little graphic when I started and when I did the first application for one of the awards we're up for, because there are shy clients. We have introverts that are working with communications firms right now that are put in interview situations when they're not ready. So they're not briefed. They're not understanding what they're going to ask. They're not understanding what they're going to go up for awards, and they don't understand when they're going to go to an event what they're going to say. So what we say is, if you're a client of a firm, you're paying them. They need to train you on or what to expect. And what to expect is who's going to be in the room, what do you say to them, and how do you follow up? And so we actually provide a template model of how to follow up. We'll do an email introduction template as well. We'll also share with them because and we have this all the time. We have a Tuesday evening event at 5:30. Someone's like, well, I got to pick my kids up or I'll get coverage to get my kids picked up and then I'll go to the event. But why am I doing that? What's the purpose? So we're clear. We're like, this is why you're doing it. And by the way, if you have your kids to stay, don't switch it for this one, switch it for the next one. So I think some of the clients that we have come to us from other firms, their relationships with their other firms, they make them go to everything and then there's not an ROI. And sometimes no one can ever guarantee our ROI, but we know that at least there's a reason behind our madness, if you will.
Of course. So to me, again, it sounds like it's really focusing on the relationships. It's not just the check the box sort of 1 through 5. It's taking the time to get to know the partner. And once you know them, you can fit out what makes the most sense. But if you're not taking that time, right, because what you've said is you're a fixed firm fee type relationship. Right. I know even in my business, I'm also a fixed firm fee primarily, but sometimes people will charge by the hour. And that's a bit problematic because then you got folks maybe that are hesitating to call to talk because they're worried about being billed. Right. It tends to facilitate more of a transactional versus a strategic relationship. So you're not really counting the hours, it sounds like. You're doing the work to make the investment, no matter what that client's profile is, whether they're an introvert, an extrovert, or anything in between.
Yeah, and then some of us say they're not used to speaking publicly, but they want to start speaking publicly. So I'm like, all right, we'll book you. And then once they do it once, they're like, we want to do it again. I'm like, okay, but this is what you got to do to change it. You got to captivate the audience. You got to make the call to action. What's your ask, right? So we're constantly providing constructive feedback because, again, that's what they're paying us for. If we just sat there and clapped and said, you did a great job and just smiled and took the check, then that's not a good business model for us, right? But there are firms that do that. We understand that. There's but we say, what if you don't ask, you don't get. So we're going to tell you what we need to know, and then we're going to say why you should get there.
I love it. You can see how much you love it, right? Like you can see that this is something that you really enjoy. This is part of what speaks to your soul. This isn't a wake up and punch a clock type situation for you. This is what you've chosen to do.
Yeah, and you see a difference in their whole mindset changes, right? So when you open up someone's mind to a different event or different organization or a different part of the community. Like, wow, I love this. So I've had the privilege of being, I'm now not the president, but last year I was the president of the Tampa Club.
That's right.
And that's one of, I don't know if you've been there, but it's one of the best views of Tampa.
Gorgeous,
right?
Yes.
So like there's a lot of views in Tampa, but it's one of the highest views. And so when someone says to me, I didn't even know this view existed. I'm like, yeah, but because no one told you to come here unless we pulled you to say, we don't want you to join. You don't have to join. It's great if you join, but we don't want you to join everything. Just come here as our guest and just see who's in the room and see what we have to offer. And so like that part of, it's funny because I always tell people the Tampa Bay Chamber does these benchmarking trips every year.
Yes.
We just got a client from one of the trips, and we all live locally. We all have to travel to another city to meet our local friends and get to know them and then come back here and do business with them. But we all live in the same town. But it's the mindset of taking you out of your box and taking you out of your principle. And that's what we're trying to do to our clients.
I love it. It's almost like one of those reality shows. Do you know, like Temptation Island or something of Naked and Afraid, something of that nature where it's much more of a controlled environment. There are fewer distractions. And so you're forced to focus on what's right in front of you.
And all of it overlaps, whether it's, also on the advisory board for Visit Tampa Bay. I mentioned I'm on the board of the Economic Development Corporation, so we're recruiting companies and we're showing off tourism. Those are two intersecting areas where we're all focusing on the airport and the construction of roads, or whether it's transportation, whatever it is, or education. All these things intersect, and that's why I say to people, like, if you want to get involved in this community, just raise your hand. There's a spot for you. I don't know about other cities that are major that I've talked to, like Charlotte or Dallas or Philadelphia or Austin. Those cities probably a lot spread out and a lot harder to get involved in. Here, we need all the help we can get.
Well, and it's interesting because you drop into enough rooms and you start to see the same people over and over in those rooms. And I'm a transplant myself, moved here, born in Baton Rouge, parents from Jersey, but moved here when I was 15, graduated from high school here, met my husband here, raising our family here. And I can't imagine being anywhere else. Do you know? I love the city so much. I get the same.
How long have you been in business now, right?
Gosh, we're like a toddler. Our business has been around, our original business, about 3 years, but I've worked my entire professional career here, over 25 years in the Tampa market.
But the business, 3 years, and you've already won the Small Business of the Year award. That's amazing. And you've done so much more than just awards, but like your clients have all over. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a town where everyone's accepting and there's no bias.
I love it. Truly. I believe that wholeheartedly. Yes. Can you imagine being anywhere else?
No. And I also tell people that, the people that we're working with, sometimes they've been here longer than I've been alive, and they've been, and they still say, well, we know everybody. We don't need you. I'm like, okay, if you don't need us, but let me just show you these 5 things. Oh, well, you can do those 5 things? I'm like, yeah, because you might have been here your whole life, but you don't know these 5 people.
Well, I think that's a great point, too. Sometimes you can get really steeped in tradition and whatever your routine is, but things are changing every day. We had such a large influx of folks come to us during the Great Migration, right? So, yes, it's not the same today as it was even 10 years ago.
Obviously, one of our historic restaurants in the Tampa area is the Columbia Restaurant.
Stop.
And I've had the privilege of working with Columbia Restaurant now for over a year. That whole family that owns the 14 concepts. And Casey Consmart Jr. is the 5th generation owner of the restaurant concept. We were in the same dorm freshman year at Florida State University.
Stop. Okay.
Right? When people are like, oh, you must work with small business. Now, Columbia Restaurant's a pretty big entity, and they have a lot of employees, and they make a big difference. But it's what we're doing for the customer and how we're exposing them to this community. Everyone knows the Columbia, but they know Mr. Consmart. That's the kind of connection we're doing.
It's the same language with a different accent. I mean, truly, right? The business is solid, but it's making sure that they're getting the exposure that they deserve based off what it is they're doing within our community.
Exactly.
I absolutely love it. So what is something I haven't asked you about that you feel the people, again, 13/14 subscribers should know?
Rejection's okay. I mean, you got to remember, I get turned down a lot, and it's a lot of budgetary reasons. I get a lot of people say, "Look, I can't afford $5,000 a month for 6 months," and I'm like, "That's okay." I don't expect you to in your business life right now. I don't expect you to just pay that for a consultant just yet. But they're like, "Well, I want to work with you. I want to do a trade." I'm like, I just don't want to do that. You go down that slippery slope. So I would say this to your listeners out there: it's okay to get no's. And it's okay to say, this is not a good fit when it is, call me.
I think that's incredible advice. And I think speaks to the healing of all of the 70s and 80s babies who were raised with the expectation of always a yes and perfection with no deviation. Do you know?
Yeah.
You will hear no. And just because somebody needs a firm with this discipline doesn't mean that firm's going to be with us, right? It could be someone else.
Yeah.
I agree. The trading and the in-kind gets a little messy, and it's easier to stick with the fee structure.
Yeah, I've just never had, when you should always pay for value. And so if you write the check and you think it's a little bit too much, then you're going to be more involved, and we need you involved, right? So return on investment is return on involvement, just like the chambers.
Yes, I love it. So many great sound bites to walk away from or to walk away with, but I especially love the don't be afraid of rejection, because truly that is the only way to get ahead. You're going to fall down. Just get up. We have Band-Aids.
And the other part of it is also people say, well, I can network. I can go to any BNI event or Chamber of Commerce event. I'm like, you can, but what are your goals from that? So I'll ask someone, like people always say, what's your opener when you go to an event, like a networking event? Mm-hmm. And I'm just saying, how many quality people are you trying to meet today? Mm-hmm. So for me, it's 10. If I walk into a 2-hour networking, let's call it a happy hour, and I say that I'm going to meet 10, I'll get stuck in conversation and I'll meet 5. But that's 5 people that I've never, ever met before. If you don't meet 5 people that you've never met before, that's just my number, but you can meet whatever number you want, then you are just wasting your time. If you're going to meet 10 people that you've already connected with before, it's great to get repetition and reinforce that you're friends or whatever. But if you're just catching up with people, then that's not new business development.
It's a missed opportunity. So you're saying discernment is key, right?
Yes.
Don't stick with the circle that you're comfortable with. Definitely continue to cultivate those relationships, but go out and plant some new seeds.
There'll be times where we drive, sometimes we'll Uber or drive together with our colleagues, and I'll say, well, let's walk in the door, let's get our name tags. Don't talk to me for 2 hours, right? Because we're not here to talk to each other. We can talk to each other on the car ride back or whenever our team meeting is, right? But we are here to meet 10, 5, whatever it is, new people.
I love it. My husband says when we go to big events, and I don't actually do this, but this is how he characterizes it. He says it's like you kiss me on the cheek, pat me on the head, and then I don't see you for a couple of hours because you're off work in the room. Do I really? Yes. I mean, what a great opportunity when you have several hundred people together. It's like a big birthday party.
And you're there for work. Like it depends on if you're there for socialization, but you're there for work, and that's the network has the word work in it. And so what I tell people is there's no right or wrong way. We're just doing it this way, and it's worked for us and our clients, and it's helped back the community. But whatever way works for you as an individual, whether it's some people just love the digital phone business cards. And I'm like, okay, well, I also like the paper business cards. So you can do both. There's no right or wrong way, right? And some people love taking people's cell phone numbers and then texting them your business card. I'm like, okay, that's cool. Some people don't want to give out the cell phone numbers. There's no right or wrong way. But my thing is I always want to follow up immediately. And so we have a 24-hour rule that once you come to an event with us or you're a client of ours and we meet you, we have to follow up within 24 hours to schedule something. It could be a call, it could be a meeting, but it also doesn't have to be in that month. It could be 6 months from now. You could be in the busy tax season and say, hey, I can't meet with you because I'm in the middle of the busy season of the year. That's fine. Let's meet in 2027. Yeah. What date works?
I love it. And he really does do this. We had breakfast, and I want to say within 2 hours of leaving, I had a message. Hey, it was great to see you. And that's a warm touch. I think that has been lost along the way. So to do that is really special. I think it's fantastic. So I think we can see why you're so successful.
I appreciate it. Well, I've not won an award yet like you have, so I want to be you when I grow up.
You are the award. Come on, you're doing all of the things, and we're so fortunate to have you in our market. Thank you for carving out the time to come and speak with me today.
And I do want to say thank you for sponsoring the Apogee Awards that are coming up, because I won that award in 2023.
That's right.
And those awards are I'm sure the audience knows it's the pinnacle of your profession.
You're such a doll. So yes, TBBW, the Apogee Awards. I mean, talking about the ecosystem, can't mention that without shouting out.
They're probably doing a drink right now for us somewhere.
Yes. And that is, I think, in September. Lots of great things coming up, and an incredible opportunity to recognize such phenomenal professionals in our market.
And I had the opportunity to judge that last year, and there are some great competition in this community. So you sponsoring makes a big difference. So thank you for doing that.
Well, thank you for your service. 11 hours. That's quite an investment. Well, how can people get in touch with you? Because I'm dying to refer people, right? What's the best way for them to reach out?
They can reach us at our website. So our mission is helping our city. So our website is helpingourcity.com or elevate, elevate-inc.com. We're on all the social media platforms, and I'm always on LinkedIn, so you can find Aakash Patel on LinkedIn, follow me, message me, but we're always open to taking calls, meetings with your friends and clients. And I would say to the other folks that are thinking about these leadership programs, look into, if you don't have the funds right now to hire a firm like ours, look into doing these leadership programs like Tampa Connection. I think they're taking applications. Leadership Tampa and Tampa Bay have just announced their classes. Leadership St. Pete's coming up, which I did that program as well. And then there's obviously Leadership Florida, which you'd be a great fit for. So I think, to those folks that are interested in talking about just those programs, I'm happy to, or our company, I'm happy to chat with them as well.
You're such a doll because, again, it's our scarcest resource that time. So thank you so much for that. And do yourself a favor and reach out to this wonderful guy. He is absolutely magic. Well, I think that's all we have today, beautiful people. Thank you so much for tuning in to Talk Nerdy to Me, an Entrepreneur's Financial Guide, Season 2. Next episode, we have another incredible pillar of the Tampa community. Dun, dun, dun. His name is Todd Hall.
I love Todd. Yes. We were Tampa Connection classmates in 2010.
Of course you were.
Great friend of mine, yeah.
Of course you were. Well, again, thank you so much for tuning in. Please check out our Season 1 episodes on Spotify, and we look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks so much.
Appreciate it.